Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shalom, salam, benvenuto. We say welcome in many languages.
Yeah.
And I'm so delighted to have everyone together for this lovely evening of storytelling and four of our most marvelous, sparkling neighbors are here today. I'm so grateful to them for coming into a space with all of us to share their stories. We are Know Your Neighbor Woburn, and this is what we're all about. Trying to grow a beloved community at the neighborhood level without fancy, without lots of glitz and glimmer. And I'm delighted also to have Samantha Stone with us as our program host. And with that, I'll pass it off to Samantha.
Wonderful. We're going to try and operate without the microphone. But at any point, any of our guests are uncomfortable or soft-spoken, my loud mouth will not be afraid to pass this down to you. So just be ready for that. Please let us know if you can't hear us. My name is Samantha Stone, and I'm really very excited to be here and to hear the stories of the four panelists we have today. Many of you probably don't know, I actually grew up living outside of the United States. So I was born in Connecticut, and I went to college in Connecticut, and everything in between, I was kind of in other places. So I know a little bit what it's like to be away from home, but I was living in a place of privilege. I spoke English, and English was a language that was well understood in the places I lived. I went to school in an American school, even though it was in another country. So it was very familiar to me. We had absolute security. My parents' jobs brought us there and paid for our housing and all of those things. So my experience is very, very different from what most immigrant families experience as they go to a new place. But Woburn drew all five of us here, and tonight we have an opportunity to hear about what brought us here, and most importantly, what makes it home, right? So a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight isn't just the sort of I came here and when I came here and where I came from, although we'll learn about that, but what are the things that we can collectively do as a community to make people feel welcomed and to help them become a part of who we are, because that makes us better. And, immigration in Woburn is a long part of our history. It started in tanneries way back in the day. And because we had people coming from Canada and other places, we were able to dominate that industry. And we have people coming from Europe, and we have people coming from Africa, and we have people coming from Asia. We have Arabic-speaking people. We are richer for the environment that we now are a part of. It doesn't make it always easy for the people who are joining us. And tonight we're going to hear a little bit about the things that brought them here and what keeps them here and what makes it home. And I'm really thrilled to introduce you to our speakers today. I'm going to introduce each of you as you tell your story and go through that. And we'll start with Shafiq, and you're going to teach us how to say your last name, because everybody who watches today in Woburn knows I'm terrible with names. So how do we pronounce your last name?
Samuageli.
Samuageli?
Samuageli.
Okay, I'll never get it. But I need more practice. I will practice. Thank you. Does everybody get it? Who wants to share? Who wants to say it? Prove to me that you can do it.
Samuageli.
Thank you for sharing that with us. You've been in Woburn, called Woburn Home since 2019, I believe, from Uganda originally. And you have worked in healthcare and real estate. And congratulations, just bought a home, I understand. Chris has shared that with us. And I would love to just start our conversation today. Tell us a little bit about what was happening in your life before you came to Woburn and what drew you to our community.
Before I came to Woburn, I lived in Waltham a little bit.
So go all the way back to Uganda. I should have asked that question much better.
Yeah. Okay. Before I went back in Uganda as a school teacher, I used to teach high school, and I love teaching. I did high school teaching, but the kind of teaching in Uganda was totally different here. Because in Uganda, the kids go to boarding school, and it's like they can leave their home and stay in school, and it's normal. Like everybody would want the kids to go away from them and stay in the school. So you like there's a wadi who takes care of the boys, and they will be the matron. And boarding school is kind of normal, unlike here where everybody has to take the kid to the bus every morning. So Uganda, it's only the parents who cannot afford the boarding school who would have to take their kid to the bus in the morning. So I used to do my school teaching and I enjoyed it. But when things became bad and there was a lot of stuff going on politically, and it became insecure for me. So I was looking for a place to kind of move to. But because I was a school teacher, I'd made friends, because we used to have people come from here to schools to partner in programs. So we used to have programs like Junior Achievement. They have headquarters in Colorado. So they used to come in the high school and they train the kids in school, entrepreneurship. So I was so much involved. So I had a lot of friends from the US and in Uganda. So when I was going through insecurity and kind of everything going on, it was easy for me to connect, because people were like, oh, maybe there's this opportunity for you to come over here and be safe here. But I was kind of like, no, I cannot go to a 21-hour flight and leave home. And for me, parking for a journey is something I can never do. I was like, how can I even? Because you look into your home and all the history and you're like, okay, if I'm to pack things and leave home with all my house, what am I leaving behind and what am I gonna find? So it's hard for you to make a choice.
Did you travel by yourself?
So when I was moving here, I had to make a choice of who I'm bringing, because my dad was in danger, the whole family, and now I have to make a choice. The kids, the wife, so you literally have to make a choice who you're coming with. So because there was no time to make decisions, when the time came, the two of us were the only people to leave. So I came with my wife on a flight, and one morning when we were not even ready. So even when I thought I would be able to park, that day when I was to come,
Wow.
I did not come with anything. So we just found ourselves in the next flight. And I remember when I reached Dubai on the plane, on the first stopover. That was my first flight, and the guy we met, when we are changing flights, he told me, when you make a mistake and the plane leaves you, it will be easy for you to connect again. So you have to be listening to every time an announcement goes. So literally we were waiting for every announcement, and then he told me, you are brave to be here, so if you can make it to the next destination, your name should be Brave. So I carried on
that was
till
lovely
here.
encouragement at a difficult transition time.
Yeah, and that was the time we moved into the US, and then we found ourselves in New York, and till now.
So you've bought property now in Woburn, and so you really have made this your home. What was the thing that made this feel like home to you finally? You've traveled not only to the United States, but to a few places in the United States. What finally said to you, this is now our home, at least for now?
Okay, Woburn stood out for the places I was. I moved in several places when I moved here, but the reason why Woburn stood out, the people I met in Woburn. I first lived on Lexington Street, and my experience with Waltham was totally bad. I remember one night I was stuck when I was actually walking by, because the challenges I found when I moved here, number one, navigating even the transportation was so hard. Like the country where I come from, all my life, even though I had school education, I had a degree, a bachelor's in education with English and literature, but only the school education I received was in British English. So moving into American English was very different, and I had to adopt another accent, and I had to adopt another, everything they speak, so I feel like it's on the opposite. So you literally have to navigate things using a Google map. So I stopped one day in Waltham, and I'm trying to speak to someone, and I'm like, okay, excuse me, good morning. He keeps walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lost. I need to connect to the bus stop, and it doesn't say nothing. And I wait for another one coming. I tell him, okay, can you show me the direction? He said, you use your phone, you have it. I doesn't know, you coming from another place, it takes time for you to know that on your phone, there should be a Google map, because where you come from, there's even no Google map. It use everybody you stop. It's supposed to tell you locations by word of mouth. You know what I mean? So connection with the people was literally hard. The social networking was literally hard in Waltham because people were so distinct in a way of living. When we moved to Lexington State, I would wake up sometimes like running around, and I used to live near a school. When people were like taking their kids to school, and you stop them, and maybe sometimes you wave, they would wave back. Like you walk by, it was easy to connect even at the YMCA right there. It was easy to connect with people. So I used to walk around with the people with the developmental disabilities, and I'm working with kids. So sometimes the kids would run away from their group home and disrobe in the community, but the urban neighborhood, they would feel with you. And they'll be like, oh, your kids are running away, do you need help? They would not look at you as a stranger in the community. So I felt like it was kind of a place where you can relate with the people. And because by that time, I was looking at creating a family, I was probably looking at a place where I can raise a family and be connecting and contributing to community, because community was too much in my mind, and trying to look for a place where I can feel a sense of connection. But when I was looking for a home to buy, I didn't know I would manage Woburn. So I was even looking for distant places. But in my mind, I was like, if I can afford Woburn, it would be a perfect spot.
Oh, we're glad that you did. And I'm very grateful, yeah, please, thank you for sharing that. You know, this is something that I think is really important for all of us, is making you feel welcome is as simple as making eye contact and waving back and offering help if someone looks like they need a little direction, or any of those things, which are very easy for any of us to do at any given time. And so thank you for reminding us that sometimes it's not the big grand gestures that matter, it's the little things that make us all feel, and I think we all feel that way, whether we're moving into the country or moving into a new neighborhood. Being able to make people feel welcome isn't as hard as it may seem. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Next up, Olga. Olga has been my best friend this week because she's been helping me solve all kinds of challenges for folks. And Olga is really special. Olga comes from Nicaragua. Zacasa? I was so close.
Yes.
You got it. You know, I really think you've brought something very special to us, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about your journey and how you came to be here. But you are really front and center in giving back to our community, and you are a person who is not just doing it, but driving it, and throws a mean fashion show, let me tell you, at the retirement community for Kindness Day. But I'm really grateful you're here. Tell us about your journey that brought you here.
I was born and raised in Nicaragua. And then when I was about, we went through a civil war. We didn't come here to have a better life. We came here running away from a civil war. So the Civil War ended in '79, and we stayed about a year, and then things got very bad. And so my parents decided, I was 15, my parents decided that it was time to leave. So we, like you, we were told to bring one bag, so we will not, we will not raise any flags that we were leaving the country. Tough. It's really tough. It's really difficult. So we left. Because you leave everything behind. And you come to a place, I didn't speak English. It was 4 of us plus my parents. And we land in Miami. That's not United States, by the way. Everybody speaks Spanish, and it was in the time that the entire Latin America was going through a tumultuous time. So we sat on the floor at school because the Cuban families came, the Venezuelan, Colombia, Argentina, everybody came in the 80s. And Miami was not ready for all of us at the same time. So anyway, so it was a challenge. It made us stronger, and we had no choice but to build a community. And then my father said to us, in this country, everybody speaks English, everybody works, and everybody has a college degree. So you can have the white picket fence house. So we got to work. I got a job at McDonald's. It doesn't get any more American than that. And I love my job. I was there for 7 years. I was a manager. And then I decided that I had to have the degree, right? I already had a house. It didn't have a white picket fence. It did not, but I decided that I had to have a degree. So I packed my bags, and I moved to Philadelphia. And I went to school at Drexel University. My parents did not have the money to pay my college or my older siblings. So I loaded up loans. I had a part-time job, and I got a 4-year degree.
Good for you.
Yep. After my graduation, I went back to Miami. I was there for a year, and Miami was not for me. Miami, I thought Miami had changed. I changed. I saw life different after leaving that. I learned completely different things. I learned the American way. I mastered my English. I still have an accent, but by leaving that atmosphere, then I grew up, I changed, I learned. So I packed my car and I moved to Massachusetts. I was in Everett for 2 years, and I found Woburn by chance. I don't even know how we ended up here, really. My husband worked in Waltham, and I worked in Burlington, and I think that's how we, like, what is the closest city? And that's it. And I have been here ever since.
How did you learn English, Olga?
By spelling, that's how I learned English, by spelling. Everywhere we went, I was like, stop, S-T-O-P, stop, stop. You need to stop, right? So, and that's how I learned, by spelling. Because in Miami, you do not learn English. You do not. People do not use it as the language.
It's funny you should say that. I was actually at the airport on the way to Costa Rica with my son, and we had a very late night flight arrival, an early flight the next morning, and only one person sort of spoke English when we went to order food at the one restaurant that was open that night. And it's a really different environment, and it was wonderful in many ways, but we're certainly glad you came here to New England.
Yep, 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 thank you. So I happened in Woburn my goodness, since 2000.
And when you have gone home, because I know you have gone home a few times, what is it like for you now that you live here to go back to where you came from?
So at the beginning, it was different to adjust back to. First of all, it's very hot back home, so I do like the weather here, by the way. So it was difficult, not difficult, but it was different. And of course, you have fun and you go see family and you do things that you grew up with. But I always wanted to come back home.
This had really become home.
Yes, absolutely. I really embraced the American living, the American way. My life is in English. I do have my own business, and everything is in English. I do speak Spanish. My family speaks Spanish, but I think different. I think in English.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's
It was hard to switch, but I do. Yeah.
And what are things that your community did when either in Miami or here that started to make this feel like home for you? What things did other people do to help you embrace the new environment?
So I did get involved at my church right away, and we did we visited orphanage. We cooked meals for the less privileged. Really, schools were super crowded. So it was a lot of people were going through really hard times. So I just got involved doing things, car wash, to raise money for a family that just came in, which is pretty much what I'm doing again. But so things like that, just do for others.
Helping
right?
others helps you find those people.
Exactly. Because you go through hard times, and once you pass that, you have to give back, and because you already went through, so you know what it is.
What do you miss most about your home origin? I know you're supposed to say all the loved ones. Besides that, what do you miss most? Anything?
I don't know. No, not really. I haven't been home in 8 years now, so
It's a long time.
yeah, it's a long time. I might go in July if I don't know what I'm gonna find, but I used to go more before, but.
Did you have any cultural customs or family traditions that you maintained here that you did back home?
No. The food.
Food is everything
Food
in my
is
world.
everything in my life. Oh yeah, food is everything. No, the food, we kept the food, we kept the language. Family is very, very, very important. And spending time with family is absolutely important. So,
Thank you so much for sharing. We'll have an opportunity to ask questions after each of our guests has had a chance to tell their story. Before we move on, though, I do want to ask you a similar question. What traditions, culturally or family traditions, do you maintain here that you brought with you from Uganda?
When we came from Uganda, we basically tried to look around for the fellow Ugandans, like people from Uganda as well, especially the people of the same culture, to try to tag together and feel a sense of belonging. So we found some friends so we kind of do group gatherings once in a month. But one thing about most immigrants, they are workaholics. It's hard to find us.
You're always working.
It's always work. 2 jobs to 3 jobs. So everybody is always at work. So it's hard to connect and find people at the same time. But one thing I would say that brings us together is when we are sad, whenever we have something, like, because where we come from culturally, when there's something, like when we are in sad moments and happy moments, we come together. So that culture we still maintain, like when maybe somebody dies, even when they're back home, we still send messages and we connect to one person is home, and then we see them, that's one thing we can
Celebrating and supporting each other.
Supporting each
Yes.
other,
Thank you.
that's one thing we keep.
That's a wonderful thing to keep.
We try.
That's great. Thank you so much, I appreciate that. Shalini?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. You are a junior at Woburn High, so you're busy this time of year. We're
Yeah.
grateful that you took the time to come out tonight. And you're originally from India, and you lived there until you were 7, I believe?
Yep.
Is that what you said? Great. And so tell us a little bit about, start maybe by sharing a little bit about what life was like for you before, what life was like for you in India. What do you remember of it? You can talk really loud or you can use the microphone, whichever's more comfortable for you.
Use the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
That's okay. So tell us what you remember of your life in India. You're rather young when you came. What are some of the things you remember about it?
Well, so I was born in India and I lived there for the first 7 years. So for the first 7 years, like my life was like different from how I spend it like now. Like holidays meant I would spend it like with my family and like even birthdays and like anything good, like weddings, funerals. Like it was like I was just right there. And like summers meant like I'd go to my grandparents' house and like spend the entire summer there. I don't even see my parents in the summer. They just like send me off and I'd just be with my grandparents the entire summer. And then I had friends there. I went to school there for the first 7 years. English was not like my first language at all. Like we didn't have to speak English anywhere. Like I didn't have to
What
speak.
did you speak? What was your first language?
I speak a language called Tamil. And so even in schools, like to my friends, to family, everyone, like I like didn't even know like English or like what like America was.
You wouldn't know it now. English is perfect.
Yeah. But even like throughout this time, like I would always like I still had like a lot of family members in like foreign countries, and I would like watch movies and like TV, like I'd see like other foreign countries like shown in TV, and like I just like always thought like, oh my god, like I want to go to these places, like I want to like go live here, like, and before even like I knew what like the U.S. was, even like where it was, like I would like tell my parents like, let's move here, like let's go here, and like I don't remember this, but my parents like tell me this all the time, how like one day like, I went to school and like one of the girls like in my class, like she came into school one day and she was saying like she was saying goodbye to everyone, and it was like, oh, like my family's moving to America, and I guess like I went home and I was like, what the heck, like
This is one power young woman at 7 years old. I love it.
if like her family can go, like why not also us? And I don't really know like the process behind like how like we got to happen, but like after hearing that, like my parents were just kind of like who knows like what's out there, like let's at least like try to experience it, or like give her this experience. And so like my dad, like his company, like I don't know, like took a bunch of interviews, like like fought really hard, I guess, and like applied and like got his visa, and then he moved here in April of 2014, and then I didn't really know, like no one told me that this is where he was going, like they just told me like he's on a business trip, and like around that time is when like summer like vacation is, so again like I was off at my grandparents' house, and they just kept telling me like you're moving, and I was like okay, like I didn't think I was going anywhere far, and then I came back at the end of the summer, and like my house was just like packed up, like all like the furniture was like all the furniture was getting shipped out, and like all my toys were in boxes, like getting ready to like be put into storage, and like my mom was like a couple weeks before, like she was like, yeah, like we're moving to America, and I was like, what? And I just remember like the night before we like our flight, or the night of our flight, like my mom was doing the final packing, like getting like the visas and everything, like passports, like sorted out, and they like sent me to like my best friend's house, who like lived like across the street from us, and like I thought it was so cool because like I was at her house and like her dad was like sarcastically like, oh, like where are you going? And I was like, oh, I'm going to America. And they were like, he was like, whoa, that's so cool. And I felt so cool. I came home and I like picked out my outfit and everything. Like I wore like the shirt that I thought was the coolest, like jeans, everything, because I thought this was like the best thing that could ever happen. And then like it was time to go. Like we went, like it was like a midnight, like 2 a.m. flight. So like we're in the airport at night, and I didn't understand like the extent of like what it meant to like move to a whole other country. And like my grandmother and like a bunch of my mom's family were like they were there, and they were like trying to say goodbye. And like my grandmother was crying, and I was like, I don't really see like what's the big deal about this. Like I'm just like going somewhere. And then like it was like I was just calm and I was just excited, like, and we like walked into the airport, and then I just see like all my family like at the window, like where like the visitors or whatever, and they were just like waving goodbye, and I was like I'm leaving. Like this is like not like a summer vacation goodbye. Like this is like I'm like leaving for like good. Like we're moving to another country. And I started like sobbing like uncontrolled the entire flight ride. I was just like crying. My mom was getting so mad because like she had like all these suitcases, and like I was like a little kid just like crying in the airport. And
That's a long flight.
yeah, and it was like a 25-hour flight. There was like a layover in Hong Kong too, and like yeah, like and then we just ended up in like Texas.
When did it make the transition from, wow, this realization of I'm excited to travel, but this means leaving all my family and all these things that I knew, to this is my home now and I feel, part of this. What changed and shifted for you?
Well, like that wasn't for like a while, because when we first moved here, we lived in Texas, and there we like did not know anybody. Like my dad had already moved in like April, and by this time, like when me and my mom moved here, it was July. So like I was new, I didn't really know how to speak English, I knew nobody, like I knew nothing, and it was just my dad working at the time. So like, and like we didn't really know how long we were gonna stay, because like our visas were never like stable, like it was kind of like every year like we expire, we had to go in and renew, and so like at the time, like my parents weren't even like ready to commit to like even like furniture. Like we had like we had a 1-bedroom apartment, and we had like one couch and like a TV, and that was it. Like we didn't have like a bed and mattress, nothing. Like carpeted floors, like we slept on sheets, like whatever. And then so we stayed like, so it was like I thought it was kind of like a sad life to live, because it was like even like birthdays, like we were kind of spending it by ourselves, just like the 3 of us, and like holidays and everything. It was nothing like how it was in India. So I hated it. I was like, let me just go back. And then at some point like my mom like needed like a job, because like it was just my dad working, and he wasn't making like a good amount of money either, because like he had no experience working in the U.S. So then like my mom decided she would get a job, and she had no like experience either. So like a lot of companies were hesitant to hire her. So for 6 months like she looked for a job, and then 6 months later she found a job, but it was in Wisconsin. And so she decided like it was best if she just like moved like on her own, because like she can't take me. She like my dad's like working in Texas. So like even though like she was also new to the country as well and didn't know anyone, she moved by herself for 6 months and lived in Wisconsin with like a roommate. And so I didn't have my mom either, so it was just me and my dad. Like he didn't even know how to cook. Like he was just kind of like doing his own thing. Like and then 6 months went by like this. So like a whole year in Texas, and then like my mom's contract with her company had like ended because of a part-time job, and so she started like looking for new jobs. And then she decided like, and like the 2 companies that like she found, one was in New Jersey and the other one was in Boston. And then we had some family living in New Jersey at the time. So like the summer after 2nd grade, like all 3 of us, we came to my family's house, and we stayed there for like a week while my mom went to both interviews. And then she decided like Boston was a better fit. So we like went back to Texas, Wisconsin, whatever, packed up all of our stuff. And then me and my mom started like driving up to Boston. Like my dad met us in Chicago, we picked him up, and then we like drove up to Boston.
That's amazing. What a really challenging transition for you as a child.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Have you been back to India?
Yeah, we try to go like every year almost. Like I don't think I've gone more than like 3 years without going back.
What do you bring back with you for family members who you're visiting? Anything that you bring from America that sort of epitomizes your experience here that you want to share with them?
Honestly, we kind of just bring like anything we can. Like anytime we go, because like anytime we go, they all have like requests. Like like I want this, I want like we got like a whole shopping list and like literally like weeks prior, like we had like 6 suitcases. There were only 3 of us. Like
I had a little business in like 5th and 6th grade. I would bring chocolate chips from the U.S. back to Liberia,
Yeah.
and I'd make chocolate chip cookies and I'd like sell them. Now, not for money, but I would sell them for like favors or things at school because chocolate you couldn't get chocolate chips for I don't know why. I'm sure you can get chocolate, but I couldn't get chocolate chips.
like one specific request that like my cousins had every year, like Sour Patch Kids, like buying bags of Sour Patch, just like give it back to them, and they love it.
And what do you bring back with you when you come? Is there anything that you bring back with you?
My mom just buys like a lot of clothes, and she also like gets a lot of spices and like food that she can actually bring over because she like can't find it. It's not the same thing as like homemade like her kid and mom like make it like they pack it like and they bring it back.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing with us. It's really interesting to hear from a pretty young child's perspective what that was like. And you had parents who split and had to be in very different places, and Dad was forced to learn to cook or did a lot of takeout. I'm not sure which, but it was quite the experience. Thank you for sharing that. Zara? Zara. Welcome, Zara. I'm really glad that you're here. So you immigrated from Iraq when you were 5, so also relatively young. And you're also a junior at High, and we're really glad that you're here with us today. Tell us what you remember of your time in Iraq. Do you remember anything? 5 is pretty young.
Yeah, honestly, I remember bits and pieces. I feel like my childhood here and my childhood in Iraq is kind of blended together into one, as a child, I remember leaving that night. It was something that, has stuck in my mind. My dad, he worked with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and we came here through the SIV program, so the Special Immigrants Visa program, and that's how we were able to immigrate to the U.S. I don't know what he was thinking, but he booked us a 3 a.m. flight for as well. So I distinctively remember me and my brother at the time, who was also very young, being woken up in the middle of the night. I was tired. I was like, why are they making me get up right now? It's the middle of the night. Getting up to leave for the airport, and I had a plushie, a My Little Pony toy that I was obsessed with, and I was too drowsy, and I guess I ended up leaving it behind. And
did you hear all the heartache over that?
Yeah, so we were about halfway there to the airport. I think we lived an hour or so away from Baghdad, which was the airport that we were leaving in, and I think one of my family members ended up going back to get it because I was just not going to leave without that toy, and I just feel like that kind of represented me going and leaving my family and everything else that I was familiar with, and that toy was just something that I couldn't let go of. Yeah, and I think after that, once I got it back, I was fine. Leaving, I saw my parents. They were my mom was struggling. She was to leave her family behind, because in Iraq, I feel you live your entire life with your family up until you go and leave the nest to go make your own family. So she was really, really struggling to be far away. Her entire life she's lived at least 5 minutes away from her parents. So she really struggled with that, and I feel as a child I didn't really understand it, but now growing up, I see just how hard that is. And I remember the day that we arrived, it was there was a blizzard. And of course, we arrived in New England, and my mom and my dad were met with snow and slush, and they were very, they weren't the least bit happy, but at least we made it safe. And we lived in an apartment in Chelsea, so it wasn't necessarily the best area. It was definitely very different from where we lived before. My dad kind of struggled to find a job. We lived off of food stamps and government funds for the first year or so. He couldn't he had a master's degree in engineering, but it was difficult to find a job with no experience, like Shalini's parents, with no real like U.S. experience. But eventually he did find a company that would take him in, and we got a car, but he needed to go to work, so it was my mom that was doing everything. She solely all by herself. We had no real family that close by. My dad had a brother living in Massachusetts, but he didn't live anywhere near us. He lived in Saugus. So my mom practically raised me and my brother, 2 little kids by herself. And then a year later after we arrived, she had my sister, Malak. And she was, with no car, she was taking us around to school through public transportation, walking everywhere in the cold, like New England weather, and the hot summers, and
Go mom!
So, just thinking about how her and my dad left their cushioned life in Iraq. They were with their family. They had a nice house. They had all they needed. They lived in an environment where they knew the language. They were a part of the culture. They had people and friends, but they decided to leave for my sake, for my siblings' sake, and so that we would have better opportunities for our lives, even though they were already well off enough. And genuinely, that thinking about that makes me really grateful. So
That's amazing. Wonderful. Thank you. What was it like for you when things got difficult in Iraq in more recent years when you were living here? Things were challenging. What was it like for you not living there but knowing people who lived there and knowing that was part of your heritage and culture?
It was definitely really difficult understanding the fact that I couldn't really do anything to help my family that was living in Iraq. But it was nice knowing that they were living in a safe area and a place where civilians were okay. But it was definitely difficult to know that the place where I was from was under such duress. Yeah.
I can't imagine. Thank you for sharing. All of you represent, almost about a third of our residents here in Woburn are multicultural, come from different places, and we're a better community for that because of all the experiences you bring and the gratefulness you bring and the richness of ideas and experiences and talents and drive that all of you have brought here in your families, and we're very fortunate. I thought now would be a good time for us just to pause for a moment, and I have lots of questions I can keep asking, but I'd rather pause for a moment and take questions from the audience.
I just wanted to know, do you pay for boarding school in your country?
Oh, yes. Okay, in Uganda we pay for school. Actually, the only free education ends in pre-primary. That is the only government, that is what the government can offer.
About how old would you be when you were done with the pre-primary?
Oh, good question. That would be 7.
So pretty early in your education.
7, yeah. But you have to pay for boarding school and it's pretty expensive.
Thank you. That was a good question.
Yes.
How is it like, what would you do for your birthday?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I'm going to ask each of you to answer that question. How do you celebrate your birthday, especially when you first got here and you're away? Did you treat yourself to something? You gotta remember his birthday. Can you believe it? Well, then how about you? How did your family celebrate
I am a
birthdays?
party girl. So I always celebrate my birthday. No matter.
Olga knows how to organize
Oh, yeah,
a party. I
Olga.
believe that completely.
Yes.
How about you?
I'd spend my birthday driving from one grandparent's house to the other one. 2 cakes, 2 outfits.
Ooh, double bonus birthday.
I'm very interested about what my sister is gonna say.
Me too.
Well, honestly, I don't think I'm positive, I remember how we would celebrate our birthdays in Iraq, but I'm assuming that it was definitely a big party with lots of family, and definitely a cake and candles, for sure. As that's how we continue to do it here, except the family was just a little smaller.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, the question was how she celebrated her birthday the first time she came, or how birthdays are celebrated back home?
a little bit of both, right? Did you want to know, interested in back home and here, like what was different? Is that, yeah, what was different at your birthdays when you transitioned here? Yeah, excellent. What other questions? Thank you for your question.
Nice.
Samantha, I'm always inspired by the transition for education. In Shafiq's case, you have told me how educated you were in Uganda, and then you come here and you have to get credentials and you have to get educated. Tell us about how that was for you to obtain certifications and
Education was one of the biggest challenges. When I was living in Uganda, I thought it would be very easy. Me having a bachelor's degree, coming here, it's going to be a smooth transition. I'm just going to come here, find a job, and it will be very easy. First, when I was leaving, I forgot even the documents. So I thought that is okay. You can get them, or maybe it was easy to find your transcript. But coming to United States, your bachelor's degree or any education you come with did not matter that time. So no matter the certification you have, it did not matter. So my first job was actually KFC. And I said to myself, oh, I'm supposed to be doing a job. I have a bachelor's. And they said, no, this is what you can do. So I'm literally in KFC, and I said to myself, okay, maybe I need to go and find school. So I went to Middlesex Community College, and when I went there, they gave me the placement test. And they give you everything. When you do the placement test, they say, oh, your math, your English, your everything. No. You at least have to do English 01. You have to go back to this. And now you can't even qualify for college English. You're like, oh, wait a minute. And I thought I need to have a bachelor's already. So I left there. I went to Mass Bay. And they say, oh, you need to see an advisor. And the advisor is asking you what you want to do. And literally, you don't even have no idea what you want to do. You go online, you Google everything, you can't tell what you want. And they want you to tell them what you want, but you literally want them to tell you what you want. So it was so hard to navigate education, and then I went to Banker here. It was still the same story. I sat in a line for over 4 hours, waiting on my phone for when I'm gonna see the advisor. And then they ask me, what do you wanna do? Like, okay, maybe I wanna be a nurse. Same story. Okay, you need to get into liberal arts, you wanna do this, go downstairs and sit for placement test. You do the placement test, you can't even get you anywhere. You have to go back to college English and math. And then if you want to do a master's, that's university, it's going to be more expensive. And here you are, you want to pay for yourself, that means you need community college. Literally, you're doing a job you're trying to change the grades and find yourself getting into community college to upgrade, but it's all hard. So
Olga's shaking her head
it
there very
was
much.
really hard
I
until I enrolled into physical therapy at Bank Hill for the first time. And then, no, I first enrolled into liberal arts at Bank Hill, and I did it for 3 months, and then I jumped out. And then I went into physical therapy for some part. I was going back and forth because I was lost in choices. I didn't know what I wanted. I had admissions almost for every college I went to. They were good at sending you admissions because as soon as you fill the application, the next minute you have an application at the door. They have accepted you. But after accepting you, you don't even know what you're going to do. So literally, I went to Bank Hill, I did the physical therapy bit of it, but a certificate, and it was not taking me anywhere. So then I went to the state and I did physical therapy at the rehab as an aide. So I was literally getting $16. But I thought by getting physical therapy job, the state is gonna pay for my education. But when I went there, the state was only paying for tuition, and literally tuition was like the list of the fees at the college.
That's the dirty little secret about universities, is the tuition is actually a much smaller portion of what you have to pay than people think.
So at the end of the day, I was like, I have to still pay for the school. So I enrolled into an LPN program, and then I did LPN, and then I just completed the nursing program, and now I'm a nurse. I just got a job at
Congratulations. It's not an easy task.
yeah, so
Make him tell us about his new job.
I got a job with Mass General Mass General Spalding, Brighton, and I'll be working there 36 hours, and I also got a job with Melrose as a clinical manager.
Look at you overachieving.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Clinical manager nurse. So I'm now into a new career. Yeah, but I've been just struggling to pay for school and then back and forth with the many jobs to try to get yourself walk through it all. But navigating school here is so hard because the advisors, they want you to tell them what you want, but it's hard for you to know what you want.
You did an amazing job. You ended up in a very good place. Other questions from the audience? Yes, Amy.
Many Americans, if they have not lived this themselves, or if they don't know someone personally who's lived this themselves, don't realize how long wait times are oftentimes to be able to immigrate to the United States. For example, a clubmate of Zara and Shalini's, named Saeed, from Pakistan, his mother applied 17 years ago for her sister to join their family, and she just arrived in the last few months. So that being said, have any of you, besides the units of your families that traveled here when you initially got here, have any of you successfully been able to bring family members here afterwards, or do you have plans to do so in the future?
My uncle, so I think we moved here we arrived in 2011, and my uncle came 2014. So a couple years later, and he came on a visiting visa, I think, to visit us, and then he ended up deciding that he wanted to stay. So that process in and of itself was very difficult and long for him, and he had left his entire family behind. He had a wife and 4 kids. So, yeah, and he moved in with us, and he decided he wanted my dad's help to bring his family here so that they could also join us in the U.S. And that process took about, I think they arrived in 2020. So it took 5 years for my uncle. He was not able to return to Iraq, so he essentially didn't see his family for 5 years. And his youngest daughter, she's around my sister's age. She had been less than a year when he left. So coming back, when he saw her in the airport, I still have the video, and every time I watch it I get chills. She was 6 years old. She had become a whole child, like a kid. And the last time he had seen her, she was a tiny baby. And that just seems so kind of cruel to me that he had to wait that long. But it was definitely worth it in the end since they're thriving right now. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's a long way.
Yes, for the 2 young ladies. Hello. You speak English very well, by the way, both of you. Now, how about at home? Is it English mostly, or is it the language from your parents and where you originated from?
My parents only speak Tamil at home, so I understand like fully, like I also like only watch a lot of movies and like listen to songs and things, so like I'm fluent in it. I mean I just can't read or write, but like I can speak it, understand it, but I tend not to speak it at home just because like I don't know, every time I speak it, I just feel like weird, except like I have like an American accent when I'm talking it, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I get a little bit embarrassed. But if I'm like, when I visit back home, or I'm like with my grandparents and cousins, like I have no other choice but to.
But your parents basically speak to each other,
Yeah,
and you guys, okay.
If you have a language, make sure you keep it. That's really
Yeah,
important.
no. That's a lesson that I'm trying to teach my siblings. So in my household, obviously, like we came here, we all spoke Arabic. Me and my brother, we actually spoke like MSA, Modern Standard Arabic, not like the specific Iraqi dialect. So we spoke very eloquently as like children because of how much Arabic TV and cartoons we watched. And everybody was surprised everywhere they were like, why are they speaking so formally? But yeah, it was because we were very like from cartoons. Yeah, so when we moved here, obviously we went to preschool, I think, and that's how we learned the language. But at home we spoke strictly Arabic. As we grew up, like we started speaking more English. But me personally, I stuck to like when my mom spoke to me in Arabic, I would respond in Arabic because that just felt not right to respond in English. Though my siblings, on the other hand, they aren't really as like strict in sticking to that, especially the little one.
That's not true.
And I feel like it's as we've grown up.
You wanna come up and tell us?
Yeah. So they've definitely taken on like more of an accent when they speak it, but they are trying their hardest. We've taken Sunday school somewhere in like Quincy. And that they really helped us like in learning like the language, so in the writing and the reading. So I can write and read, but I do struggle a little bit. My siblings too, like they can write and read, but like not very well. Like we're not completely fluent, I would say. But we do try our best to keep speaking Arabic at home, to keep it alive, obviously, but also for my parents because that's the language that they were born with, and they spoke strictly that language mostly like for the first 30 years of their lives. Even if they learned it in school, it wasn't the same as like living in it. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other audience questions? Yes.
Yeah, I want to go a little further on the language and culture thing. A little background. I'm Dutch originally. Came here 2008, so similar kind of experience, but later. And my experience is an expat experience. So I traveled and lived in 6 different countries where it's kind of different from what I was always told the immigrant experience is, which is you leave your country, you go somewhere else, and you adopt a new culture. And here, as an expat, you really keep both cultures very much alike. You're part of the place where you live, and you're part of, and then you try to integrate it going forward. And I'm just, that's particularly important with language, by the way. You know, being able to speak the languages of the families that you're dealing with is critical. But I'm quite interested, particularly for the younger people here, but for all 4 of you, to what extent you feel that living in America means being one or the other or something different. Because I feel for me it's something different.
That's an excellent question. Why don't we start with that and we'll work our way this way.
I feel like my parents, for them, it's definitely like they want me to keep my roots. But for me, I think it's definitely a mix of both. Because in the reality, I am living here. I've spent most of my life here. It can't not be part of my personality, my life, and who I am. So I definitely think it's a mix. But in the reality, I do have to take into consideration that this isn't where I was born. This isn't where I'm from. I'm from somewhere else.
I mean, I also agree with Zara. because my parents do try to like keep me like practicing the same culture. Like we go to temples, like we celebrate like all the holidays here, like still like dress up and like wear new clothes and like hang out with other like fellow people and like celebrate the same like holidays. But also spend more time at school and like with my friends. So it's like I don't. It's both. I like that.
It is both. Although the new generation, the kids, some of them didn't speak Spanish, which is a shame, but it is what it is. So when we are together with the family, it's like a Spanglish kind of a thing. You speak English, you speak Spanish, you speak both at the same time, like even half and half. When I'm here, it's English. When I'm with my sister who lives here in Massachusetts, it's like confusing because it's back and forth, Spanish, English, Spanish. But so it's both.
How about for you?
For me, I feel I can bring the culture and keep a little bit of where I come from that makes me, define me as a person, but I feel so much alive here that it's a place that has given me the voice, and I find this more home, that it's more of here, though I keep the two.
I want to, you guys think about a couple of last good questions. I'm going to ask one question from everybody, and then we'll have one or two more questions before we wrap up our time together. When you think about your culture and all the mixture of what that has become, because all of us sort of end up with a mixture of different cultures, different parents, different families, friends, all the different ways that we celebrate together. If there is one thing that you would want others to share with you, what would that thing be? Whether it's a tradition you have, a holiday you celebrate, a food you cook, a proverb that's meaningful to you, something that you would want all of us to know about who you are and where you came from, what would it be? You want to go first, Olga?
No. Maybe because I don't understand the question. Like,
Yeah. So what I'm wondering is, there's in my family, for example, food is truly everything. We celebrate with food, we're sad with food, we congratulate with food, and there are certain dishes that, if it is a holiday, that is the thing that we do, and we share that with guests who come who may not be from our background, because it's just sort of ingrained into how we do. So I have my grandmother's recipe book, and she has given me menus for every major holiday. Now, I don't follow it strictly, and there are some things I change and make my own traditions, but there's some things that I borrow from that holiday menu every time, because it makes my mom smile, or it makes my dad smile, and it gives me happy memories. And even though my children may not remember it, because they don't have memories of my grandmother, they didn't get a chance to know her well, it's my way of kind of passing along that thing that she meant to me. She was a very food nurturing person. So I'm just curious if there's something in your life like that you want to share with the people that you care the most about.
Something in me that stands out in me, for me, is the people, the community, and bonding, or like helping and caring about others. To me means too much to me, that when I belong to a group of people, I like to be out there with them, and it makes much more meaning to me. That's why when I join a particular community, no matter how, I like to be once in a while part of it. Like when I was out there looking for a house, I told my realtor that you need to find a house where the neighbors are homely and they're friendly. And he said, you will not find that in America. I said, okay, if I cannot find that, then that is not the house I'm going to buy. And the guy is like, you're making my job so hard. I said, no, I'm not making your job hard, but I'm making you find a place because you said you're going to get me somewhere I want. And he said, but we found this house in Woburn and it's a nice house. And I said, yeah, but go find if the house is good. And he said, you already say the house is good. What else do you want? I said, go find if the neighbors are good. He said, he literally drove the house, he drove his car and went and parked there around 6 p.m. and stayed there to see how the people are coming. And they came from work and they began greeting one by one and saying hi. And he spoke to everybody around, and he came back and told me, oh, I spoke to the lady there, and she replied, and the one there, and I told him what job does the other one does, and the other one, and because he told me, oh, the neighbor this side said he works at a hotel, he's an engineer. I said, okay, now you spoke to them. If they told you what they do, they are homely people. So that's when we pushed the buying the house, and then the reason I did all that, I wanted to belong to a place where I can wake up one morning and say hi, and it's okay. I can say hi to the kids, and it's fine. And that's why when I was looking around in Woburn, when I see they pin and they say we need to clear this place, so we need to volunteer, we need volunteers, I'll go and join no matter how. That's what I wanted to do because it's what I feel. I don't care whether the people know me or not, but I just want to go out there and help.
That's a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to share?
Like,
What's important? Sort of what do you want to pass along to your community or your family,
to my family?
or your community in general? Either way.
So when we get together, even if the kids don't speak Spanish, they know how to eat the food, and you know how to dance.
Oh, I love that.
Yes,
The
it is
dancing.
very, very, very important.
Well, who wasn't kidding? She knows how to throw a
No,
party.
no, yeah, it's very important that they like the food, the rice and the beans and the things, and we dance.
Now, I know you two probably aren't thinking a lot about your future families yet, or maybe you are, but are there things that you've shared in your culture with your friends that you wanted them to see that little piece of you?
I mean, so in India, like one of the biggest holidays that we celebrate is Diwali, and like over there, it's like it's a huge thing. You know, like you're on school, nothing to go like with our family, you get like new clothes, and it's like a lot of fireworks. Like people buy fireworks and they light them like often like they're like front lawn, and so but when we moved here, we couldn't really celebrate that, and after we bought our house in Woburn, my neighborhood is like mostly like all the other families there are also Indian, so every year my mom just throws like it's like basically the same thing, but it's like a mini version of that. And so we get like little sparklers, and she like cooks the same like types of sweets and like the same type of food, and she invites all of them over, and all of them have like really young kids who were born here and like won't ever like, really celebrate Diwali the same way that they celebrate in India, but at least they get like a little bit of what it's like here. And I also invite Zara every year, and like she also gets dressed up and like.
That sounds very tasty. I'm just saying, I wouldn't say no to an invitation.
No, I think we all would like to.
We'd all like to
dress up
listen
for
to
a
it.
big party.
And what about you? Anything that you'd like to share?
I would honestly say like the values. I feel like in Iraq, well, what my family appreciates is that they're super proud of like being hospitable, as a community and people like of others who are unlike themselves. So I feel like with Shalini, like us sharing our cultures with each other, like when I celebrate Ramadan, Shalini like is respectful of that, and like I teach her about it and we talk about it, and like in Iraq, like a lot when they have tourists, they're very like everyone's super nice to them and super like caring and welcoming, and I just feel like that's something that's unique to our people that we kind of like spread wherever we go, and that's something that I would like to do with my friends.
I love it. Thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. Any last questions? Here we go. Let's clap first. Any last questions? I know we're just about out of time. But anything else? A burning question you'd like to ask? Thank you all for
Thank
joining
you.
us. You have made us richer in understanding where you've come from and who you are today, which are both equally important. And we're super lucky to have you as part of our community, and appreciate you sharing with us and helping us explore all the things that we get to learn from each other. We're really fortunate to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would also like to thank the people who have given us the love back, and the people who have helped us, and the people who have made this transition. And I would say they have made life very easy. It doesn't feel like we are even changing from another place to another, transitioning. Sometimes you even forget you don't belong here. You have to be reminded. I used to be offended when somebody asks me where you from. It will be like a trigger, and somebody doesn't know until you learn to get used to that. And until I figured out is people are not conscious about it, but
The church trying to get to know you.
yeah, somebody just wants to know you, but there are lots of people who have been very welcoming, and it's good. We have friends you've met along the way, and they've helped you so much. Our friends here who have been very, very nice, and to all the group here, we appreciate every one of you who has welcomed us to the community, and we are proud to have you, and we are willing to work with you and knowing you better, and we thank Know Your Neighbor as an organization to be able to push Woburn as a society and a group and a community to better and sharing our experiences as a community and developing together and working together. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you to all the Know Your Neighbor folks who are here, and for those of you who have come to hear these stories, and those who will watch it later online. We're really pleased you can share these stories with folks and hopefully inspire us all to learn something new from each other. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank you all so very much. I have the PBS Channel 2 job to remind you all to pitch in if you can to help us fund these.
I think he's building anticipation.
For the camera, this is how you can pitch in to help us to keep this meetup series going and all of the other community events that we all know and love. Thanks for coming very much. Tell your friends about the meetup at the Studio Cafe. Thanks to Danielle and Christopher Titus for being such wonderful hosts. Most of all, thanks to our panelists. You are so wonderful. You are the sparkle of our community. Thank you. Thank you all.